welcome to the Happy Rant podcast. I am Ted Cluck, joined, as always, in studio by my good friends, my partners in radio, Barnabas Piper and Ronald J. Martin. Boys, we have many things to discuss today, but I want to start by talking about an Easter basket that I got in the mail yesterday. So I go to the door. I've got this package. Didn't recognize it. Didn't look like anything I had ordered. And dude, I open it up. There's candy. There's coconut macaroons, and there's a shirt. It says Warhawks football on it. This is a custom, bespoke Easter basket put together by none other than the great Hannah Stone, diehard listener, diehard Happy Rant listener. And boys, I've since learned that you guys got similar Easter baskets. Am I right? Piper, what did you get?
I haven't actually received mine yet because I've had some delivery issues to my place. But okay. I did know they were coming, so I'm waiting with great eagerness. And Hannah, this is not me delaying. By the time you hear this, I will have opened it and probably consumed everything in it, or worn it if it's wearable. So thank you in advance. But I'm eager to get my hands on it, but haven't seen it yet.
Baby, did you get an Easter basket as well?
Yeah, no, I got it. It was awesome.
Nice.
And it was literally just full of, an unbelievable amount of goodies, and just this really kind of touching and heartfelt letter as well.
Yeah, dude, she wrote a really nice note, man. That was super heartfelt. And I understand she has a birthday coming up. So happy birthday.
I think the birthday may have been passed because it was supposed to be around the time of the live event, from what I understand. And she was going to, or maybe it was prior to that, and she was going to come out to the live event that we had to cancel. So she went above and beyond despite the disappointment of not being able to see us face to face and then be embarrassed on stage at a live event, which she didn't know was going to happen. But, it was in the works because her sister was plotting behind the scenes via Twitter direct messages to get her all set up. So,
dude, all the intrigue, man. Yeah. So many moving parts to this thing. But nevertheless, we have Easter baskets and they're fabulous. And boys, I don't want to put too fine a point on this thing, but one thing that I really enjoy is getting stuff from fans. It's a real encouragement to me in this time of quarantine and uncertainty that we're in. So
it's like, listeners, if you want to know what's encouraging to us, getting stuff.
That's right. Gifts.
Something in my nature, I love getting stuff.
Something in my nature. Yeah. My very unique nature, must have to do with my Enneagram, but I really like getting stuff.
Ted, you're the only guy I've ever met that likes getting stuff. That's weird.
I know, baby. It's so weird. I don't know.
Yeah, Gary Chapman never said anything about that.
I just think I'm such a unique person. Let's talk about me.
I don't know anybody else that likes getting stuff.
I know. Dude,
question for you guys. Yeah. I made the executive decision to share your personal addresses with a listener because by all accounts, she's very reputable and trustworthy and was going to do something kind. Hopefully she didn't poison you. That's really why I let you guys open yours first, just to find out if you were going to die from whatever was in the
actually, at this point, if she did, it might be a mercy.
Right.
I would take that too, to be honest.
Take me home, Jesus.
Yeah.
She did hand deliver mine to my door, which I thought was a little weird. So
maybe, she just sat on your front steps for hours waiting for you to oh wait, you're not anywhere. She wouldn't have to wait for you. You're just home constantly.
Correct.
Yeah.
So how do we feel about sharing addresses with listeners if they are inclined to send us free stuff, or do we need to set up like PO boxes or something?
You know what, Piper? I trust your judgment personally. Okay. I don't want to speak for Ron. I'm going to let him answer this too, but I feel like your judgment is impeccable. So if a fan approaches you and they want to send something to me, it's a yes from my perspective.
At the risk of insulting both of your respective current hometowns, I feel like both of you are slightly safer because your cities are a lot harder to get to than the greater Nashville area, which is a bit of a hub for interstates as well as air travel, if anybody was to risk air travel.
That's true.
You guys might be safer than I am on this front. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not really a safety guy. I go back to more back to what Ted said. I like getting stuff. Mm-hmm. So, Pipe, however you want to get me that stuff, roll with it. You know,
see, I'm very much in the same boat. I'm like, if somebody is inclined to give me free stuff, there was a time when we trusted fellow humans and thought people were nice and had good intentions. So I'm inclined to let people mail me whatever.
But I'm also inclined to believe that, like, if somebody wants to get to me to harm me, man, they're gonna find a way.
Oh,
so
for
address
sure,
or
dude,
no address.
sure.
I'm just I don't really get uptight about that stuff. So.
Dude, speaking of, and this kind of dovetails into a topic, I guess, but do you guys, I'm sure you know people like this because Reformed churches are full of people like this, but the guy in this, and by this I mean like the COVID-19 quarantine moment that we're in, the guy who has so many guns, like, and he's gunned up. And
yes, I know this guy, 100%. Yeah, I don't know where you're going with that sentence, but I know this guy.
Well, I've been thinking a lot about this type of guy, and I've been thinking how bummed he's going to be if his life comes and goes and he's never gotten to shoot a dude. You know what I mean? Like, if he's got all these guns and the doomsday scenario that he's been, dreaming about for years and years never comes to be, and he never gets to shoot a guy. Like, he's going to be on his deathbed and he's going to be like, "Pastor, I've got some regrets." And the pastor's going to be like, "Oh, are you bummed you didn't spend more time with your family?" And he's going to be like, "No, I'm actually bummed I never got to, like, blast the dude in the face."
Yeah, I'm bummed I bought 47 handguns for a home invasion that never happened.
So I'm kind of with Ronald. What Ron said, it resonated. Like, if it truly goes down, like, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. I mean, let it be. But yeah, I'm sure you guys know people like that. And I don't know if that's the person that I'm the most sick of in this, but it's up there. That guy is a contender. So who are we most sick of in this whole thing? Pipe, you suggested the topic. I'm sure you had somebody in mind.
Well, my first thought was me. I'm becoming more and more tired of myself.
Dude, really lean into that. That's
okay.
Fascinating.
So, a little behind the scenes for listeners. We were supposed to record this episode 2 days ago. I called an audible and said, "Can we please delay this? Because I think I used some flowery language of some variety." It was a terrible day. My children and I were all very tired of each other, and it showed. And, so initially I was mad at them. And then I realized, like, they're 11 and 14, and they're trapped with each other and their dad at home endlessly. Of course they're miserable. I
don't see the problem.
Yeah. I mean, they're likable like 70% of the time, and now it's like 30% of the time. So it's the problem there is me. Like, I'm the grown-up who's acting like a fellow teenager. So I'm fairly sick of me. I'm tired of thinking my own thoughts. I'm tired of not having, human interaction to kind of deflect. I'm tired of not having people I can, like, make laugh or make fun of, or, any of those things that give me a sense of worth and value. But outside of myself, there is one type of person I'm the most sick of in this whole COVID-19. Okay. And it's the blame everybody person.
Oh, yeah. Meaning every person, basically.
I guess. But, like, there are certain, I don't really ever get sick of Twitter. I've never been one of those people who's like, Twitter's such a drag and it just sucks the life out of me. Like, some people get like that and they need to go take their, sabbaticals and announce it loudly and be self-righteous and whatever. I'm getting sick of Twitter. Because there are whole streams of people who their entire Twitter feed is pointing out all the failures to stop what is a natural act of God pandemic. So the Chinese, Donald Trump, the Italians, the news media, like, it just shifts every day, or it's perpetual, and it's like every failure of the Trump administration. My feelings about Trump have been made known. Not a fan. Don't think he should be president. Whatever. Nothing makes this experience that we are all figuring out worse than finger pointing in a way that solves absolutely nothing. Yeah. It solves nothing. And it's so no,
Piper, they're activists, though.
Yeah, I guess.
That's the part you missed.
So here's the thing that gets to me about this. It's not just the blaming. It's imagining, so you have the Great Depression, Black Thursday, 1929. You have World War II. You have just these different eras of previous generations where there's just been these massive nation-shifting things. It's really hard to imagine those people just sitting around and finger pointing, as opposed to just sort of gritting their teeth, bucking up and going, well, looks like it's Thursday, better make it through Thursday, and just grinding out life. And yet our generation or generations, our first response is not, what do we need to do to make life work? It's, who do I get to blame that my life is not the way I want?
Right. How dare the Italians not know exactly what to do with a brand new worldwide pandemic? They're so stupid.
Wait a minute. It'll be the Russians next. Like, it's just,
totally.
whoever we can finger point at. So it's the finger pointers who I'm now pointing my finger at them. That's who I'm most aggravated at.
Dude, you know what? Something you said makes me think of something. And then I want to get Ron's answer to this. I hope we get a brand new, awesome, like, worldwide enemy out of this. In the same way that, like, Russia was such a great, like, movie enemy in the 80s. Villain. Dude, we do. Yeah. So that we can get a whole new slate of kind of, like, great action movies out of it.
So you were going to say Rocky movie, weren't you, Big T?
Yeah, but baby, I would take another Rocky movie. I would.
But the only way we can get an enemy like that is if they are wealthy white people. Because nobody else can be universally hated safely.
Yes. Dude, that's right. So I wonder if every movie villain now is going to be a wealthy white person, which is the kind of white person we all want to be. But still, like, the minute and that's the great paradox, right? Like, the minute we hit a certain level of wealth, everyone will hate us because we're white and middle-aged and straight. Man, We're really stuck, boys. We're really stuck between a rock and a hard place with that one. But
I'm not even sure they can have an accent. Like, if it's a even if it's like a Russian oligarch arms dealer, like somebody we can all agree is an evil person who has
Yeah, but no, you've been victimized somewhere along the way by an American white person, and that's what made you the way you are.
Or it's just Americans judging somebody of a different culture because he has an accent. And
no, the only bigoted, horrible white person type that there can be is American. So yeah, boys, we're super screwed.
Just to sum up, it sounds like the villain that we all need is currently running our country. Correct?
See, Piper goes all political. Now, that sound you hear is like thousands of listeners unsubscribing at this point. Dude, now our revenue just went down. Ronald Piper is ensuring that we're not going to be rich middle-aged white American men.
I conveniently I didn't even hear what he said. Did you hear him say something, Big T? Because I don't recollect what just happened at all.
I just stopped the purchase on my lake house after Piper made that statement.
Absolutely, yeah.
There goes all of our revenue.
Just cost our livelihood. Thanks, Pipe.
Yeah. Sorry, not sorry. I thought it was funny.
Piper legacy can't sustain us.
The Piper legacy lives on.
Oh man,
baby, who are you most sick of in this?
It's Piper now, but
oh no,
I'm just kidding.
Piper's coming between us and our money, man. That's a problem. But I have concerns.
Never get between a white man and his money.
I love it, dude. I love it. That's so good.
Never get between a reformed white man and his money.
Dude, reformed white men have to act like they don't care about money.
Absolutely.
But the thing that they care about the most in the world is money.
Yeah, they just do it behind the scenes.
They spend like 35 hours a week like checking their bank accounts, but in the other 5 hours they spend talking about how they don't care about money. Reform dudes are amazing.
Yeah, they are amazing, man. At some point I want to talk about all the the streaming, how T4G streamed the comp from their living rooms.
Did you go?
No, of course not. But I want to talk about, speaking of Piper, it just dawned on me that, like, I heard a bunch of dudes, I didn't hear it talking about Johnny P exegeting his sermon title, before he preached his sermon, like he
on
did
T4G.
For his T4G Pipe. Do you know anything about that?
No, that's who I'm most sick of. I'm sick of people who are exegeting my dad's videos in which he exegetes something else. So no, that has been true for like 30 years. So that doesn't really change. Just put a pin in it.
I just read a couple of guys like talking about that. Like, John, before John even preached, he like exegeted the sermon title they gave him, and it's going to cause all this ruckus. And I'm like, oh, anyway. So as I was reaching for like the chocolate that Hannah had just like delivered me. Anyway, I think what I'm most sick of, and I'm always most sick of this, guys, because I'm just like, I really
being
despise,
home.
Yeah, being home.
Being home. It's not being at a conference.
I actually, I hate conspiracy theories. Like there's something about it that absolutely drives me bonkers, because I can't believe that people actually sort of I can't believe that this is like still a thing, that like when people hear themselves starting to go through all the motions of conspiracy theorizing, that at some point they don't just think, oh, I'm being that guy that's a conspiracy theorist. And there can't be any truth to what it is that I'm sort of making up in my mind. So to hear everybody, I mean, I've heard some doozies when it comes to COVID-19. And it's almost like I don't know if it's as much irritating to me, because that's just irritating to me in a general sense. I almost like can't believe it. Like when I hear conspiracy theories, I'm looking at the person, I'm waiting for that moment when they go, I'm totally joking with you right now. I don't believe this is all this.
Yeah, I'm just messing with you. Messing around.
I'm waiting for that break, and I feel like I never get it. And I'm just fascinated that, like, wait a minute, like you actually think this could be true? Like, help me understand.
I feel like conspiracy theorists never joke around. Like of all the people groups that would be inclined to joke around, they're at the bottom.
That's why they believe such dumb stuff, because they have no sensitivity to like, oh, that's horse crap. Like that can't possibly be true. Whereas those of us who are like cynical and sarcastic, we just sort of read everything through that filter and we're like, well, that's nonsense. That can't possibly be true. And so we get it wrong sometimes. They get it wrong all the time.
Ronald, can I lean into something that you mentioned earlier?
Lean in.
Yeah. I want to know, I want you to go as deep dive as you can on this. So you mentioned that T4G was being streamed from like these guys' living rooms. Yeah. I want to know what all their living rooms look like. Because to me, like the only upside of the Zoom like moment that we're in right now is that like you get to see people's living spaces. And, 98% of the meetings are boring and useless, but like it is kind of interesting to see how people live. So I want you to go deep dive into these guys. Like, what do their living rooms look like?
Well, I've only seen some screenshots. So what you typically see by these dudes, it's not surprising. They're all
bookshelves, right?
Yeah, you're all standing in from some elaborate oak bookshelf made in 1983. With
dude, I love the 83 bookshelf.
I don't know why there's no modern bookshelves in these guys'
production of bookshelves just stopped in 1983.
I don't know if it stopped or they're all living in the same house that they've been in since 1983, or they just don't have like the wherewithal to say, hey, I should probably redesign my office because it still looks like an office from 83. I don't know.
If only Paul Tripp was streamed, because I guarantee that guy has like a chic modern sure. Look, because he's just Mr. Crisp and pristine sort of ethos, and he would 100% have an entirely different array of bookshelves.
I totally agree with that, Pipe, because it's just everybody else that has those like 14-ton built-in, like super dated 1985. Like I don't even know what that is. I'm living in a house that was built in 1895. And like all of my built-ins are like, I mean, you could at least say these are like 2004 built-ins. You know what I mean? Like I don't get the whole 1983.
Maybe you're feeling a little superior about your built-ins.
I am feeling superior right now. It's
interesting,
guys. So I'm just going stir crazy, and it brings out the superiority in me.
I know, baby. No, I know. We've noticed for the past few weeks, but like, so I want to stay on this for a few minutes. If you had, this is a two-part question for Ronald. If you had finally gotten the plenary that you have longed for the past decade, okay, so you'd finally gotten that main stager at T4G, and you're stoked, dude. You're picking out outfits. This is like January, okay? This is like January, February. Dude, you're thinking about the outfit, and you and Militia are having like 3-4 hour convos every night about what you're going to wear and all that stuff.
I'm picking out outfits while it's snowing because I'm going to wear something that's pretty layered anyway. Is that what you're getting at, Big T?
Yeah, of course. Well, and then COVID hits, and they're like, hey, bro, sorry about your luck. You're going to be streaming this thing from somewhere in your house. Like, what's the what backdrop would you use? Like if Ronald Martin gets to do one of these streamers at T4G, what are you streaming in front of, baby? Because I know you're thinking it through. It's big, dude. This is huge.
Oh, well, dude, yeah. I mean, I'm going to go.
What are you streaming in front of?
I'm going to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it into my studio with all of my like analog, like all my wires and knobs, and have it look all scientific.
Subtext, I'm a musician. Yeah.
Right. Like I'm going to do that just to kind of tweak with everybody and say, wait a minute, we don't see like that 15, commentary, that Spurgeon commentary set behind him. Like, and not only that, but boys, if that ever did happen, which it won't, I mean, I'm up there preaching in total fear, knowing that like Jonathan Lehman's going to say, dude, he butchered the text. Why do we even have this hack up? There's all of that stuff going through my mind. Like, dude, does this guy even know how to pronounce the word God? It's going to be all of that.
God. Yeah. Now, why Jonathan Lehman?
Oh, dude, I have no idea. He's the 9 Marks guy. Great guy. Yeah. He came to mind because he's been like live tweeting all of the T4G talks. So yeah,
it's so funny, dude. Okay, on living room.
Can I make another setting suggestion for Ronnie? That it's sort of. It's the other part of Ronnie's persona.
Okay.
He would need to do a walk and talk on some woodland path.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's a big walk guy now.
Yeah, big. I mean, I'm assuming he doesn't want to do like a run and talk on his dreaded treadmill. So like a woodland path walk and talk. Hopefully like an owl swoops through. Maybe that could be CGI'd in there. But I feel like that's the other option.
Do you think they would even let me do that, Pipe? I feel like that would be like against the T4G rules.
It would be very hard to live stream a walk and talk. It would not be hard to record one.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a little bit pantheistic. Is God in this tree? Is that what he's communicating?
I would have to get one of those devices where you can like hold it out in front of you as I'm walking through the forest. I could
a selfie stick?
Yeah, I can do that.
You can just have Melissa walk backwards and like hold the camera.
She trips on a root and the whole thing.
We'll have to watch out for that root, babe.
I don't know that
Still more entertaining than Mark Devers'
She's a woman,
study.
Big T. I don't think she can be a part of my talk like that.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Yeah, in the strict complementarian world, the woman can't even walk backwards and hold your phone as you're speaking into it. No, I get it, dude. I mean, that's
that
how
makes
our
a lot
household
of sense,
works
right?
too.
I mean, that adds
it
up.
makes so much sense. It adds up.
I mean,
it really does.
Sure.
It really does. Now, okay, so in addition to 1983 oak bookshelves, what else are we looking at here, backdrop wise, from these guys?
I don't know, Pipe. Have you noticed any of it?
Were you under the impression I'd been watching these live streams? Even when I went to conferences, I didn't go to sessions.
You're scrolling Twitter, and they're posting like shots of it. That's all. I haven't watched any of them.
I think I muted the hashtag.
Did Matt Chandler tape in like a slaughterhouse with like
Channy's not in it this year, man.
Channy's not in it?
He's not doing it. Yeah.
Unbelievable. Dude, Joe Thorne would be in like a like a medieval writer's garret with like a skull and some candles flickering in the background. Smoking a cigar.
Yeah, for sure.
Or he'd be in front of like he goes to this cigar lounge in the suburbs of Chicago. They have the room with all the lockers,
Oh yeah.
And then they have all of like the used the empty whiskey bottles on top. And I think he would just set up in front of the lockers. So it'd be like lockers and whiskey bottles, and it would be a great a great disturbance in the force for sure.
Yeah, which is why Thorny's not getting a plinter. Why Thorny's not getting a plinter either. Like they don't need a guy walking through the woods with the fairies as much as they don't need a guy like in front of like the empty Dude,
that's true. That's just a little too out there. Both of those.
H.B. Charles is straight up preaching from a wooden lectern.
I love it.
Yeah, some of them have been like in there, like behind their pulpits too.
Dude, no, real talk. Does T4G have like? Do they have like their token tattoo guy? You know what I mean? Like they always have. They always throw a nod to quote unquote diversity, and
I don't know. Pipe. I don't know about Triple E. I mean, is he a dude with? I mean, I just don't know anything about him. That's the only guy I can think of that might fall.
Oh, when I heard tattoo guy, I was thinking the Joe Thorne tattoo guy, as in like white reform tattoo.
White reform guy who's got a little bit of edge to him.
No white guys with edge. That's Matt Chandler was probably too edgy for them. And that's why he's not in it this year.
Interesting. Yeah, Channy starts a steak company, and there's all kinds of stuff.
Basically, if you can't look like a state senator, you can't be on the stage at T4G.
Dude, they all have that senatorial look.
Yeah, why do they look? Yeah, can we suss that out? Can we suss that out for just a minute?
Yeah.
I mean, why is that like? But it's a state senator look. That's also I'm the president of a seminary look. That's also I'm a prof at a university. Yeah, which doesn't describe you. So here's my question for you, Big T. I'm sorry. I'm streaming in my mind here. I'm pathing.
No.
In my mind.
Go ahead.
So are you? And I'm being totally honest right now. Would you be the only guy or one of the only guys at your university that like just dresses cash?
Here's the thing, baby. I don't count because I teach journalism. Okay. I teach something vocational. Therefore, I don't count in the mind of a lot of academics. Like they look at me like I'm a shop teacher. You know what I mean? Like I could be walking around in like a short sleeve button up with like a, you know what I mean? They look at me.
Got your name patch on it.
Got my name patch on it, like Gus, like I'm not even a real academic.
Yeah, you look like the uncle from Napoleon Dynamite or whatever.
It's good for me though, because like I don't have to wear the academic costume. You know what I mean? I don't have to pop on the rumpled khakis and the blue blazer, and I don't even have to go through that charade.
So there's plenty of guys with the khakis and the blue blazer.
Yeah, dude, it goes department to department, and then you get into like English, and they're rocking like 3-piece suits because they think they're, I don't know, solving the world's Shakespeare problems. It runs by department.
But is it more like sort of like how? Is it more like your own impression of yourself?
Yes,
kind of dictates how you look, how you present your image.
You live in this dream world of your own creation as an academic because you're so kind of far removed from the actual world. So yeah, at a certain point in time, your kind of fantasy life takes over, and you begin to just dress to that. You know what I mean? So,
because it's like always a funny thing. It's a fascinating thing. Like I remember the first time, like 10 years ago, when I went to TGC conference. Yeah, and it was like you saw all these dudes, and is generally pretty casual. And then like this was when they only had like I don't know like 10 booths, kind of a thing. And like you saw the Ligonier booth, right? And which oddly enough stuck out like a sore thumb because it was all dudes wearing like the blue blazers and the khakis, super decked out. So here's what I want to know: like, and I've been wanting to riff about this for a long time. Like, what's the mentality of these dudes that feel like when they wake up in the morning and they're going, whether it's to like church or seminary, they grew up feeling this obligatory thing about like getting like decked out to the hilt, man. Like where does that come from?
I have a theory. I know you can make
a case. I know you can make a case like, dude, what about you? Like, why do you not feel the need to do that? Do you not have the same respect for like the office that these dudes do? Maybe that's true. I don't know, but I want to know like in what way, shape, or form, like, do you have to grow up in? Or, what leads you to thinking that this is the way that I look most appropriate given what it is that I'm doing? I'm so baffled by it.
I have a theory, but I want to hear Pipe on this first.
Oh, man.
I'm trying to be serious right now. Let's
No. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I always hear formal wear attached to respect.
Right.
Like you said, respecting the office. I'm like, well, you're an editor at Ligonier. What's the office? I don't understand. Right. I mean, if you're a senior pastor, maybe you can attach to an office. If you're the president of the United States, you can attach to the office. If you're in a financial industry and so you need to sort of scream success, I understand. You're basically sort of a walking billboard. But I'm not sure what you're a walking billboard for in ministry when you're wearing a suit, unless you're attached to tradition. So you're sort of it's like a callback. Like my grandfather he wore a tie all the time, and like a big double Windsor knot, crisply tied. That's what he did. He was suit and tie or jacket and tie. And like his version of dressing down was like slacks with a tucked in golf shirt, and but he was of a different generation, and he was in ministry. That's why I bring him up, because he was an evangelist and preacher and all this stuff. But yeah, I kind of chuckle at it because I'm like, I think you're giving the opposite impression of what you intend now. Like it almost looks sort of stuck up, or like disrespectful to everybody else.
Yeah.
You look hard to approach. And here's the thing. Why did we decide that sort of like the blue blazer and the tie is like why don't we go all the way back and do like clerical collars? Like why like that
Dude,
feels
those are dope.
respectful.
I think we should.
But I mean at what point did that, and again we're probably talking about denominational things here, but at what point did like all of these guys that are super decked out now for the office, like why don't they go back to that and like wear the collar?
Dude, so here's my theory, okay? My theory is for any given person, your kind of fantasy life dictates how you dress. So, for example, these dudes who read these Winston Churchill biographies and think of themselves as statesmen, they all, dude, and I know because I've had convos with these guys about this. They're all like, yeah, if I hadn't gone into ministry, I would have been a politician. You know, I would have run for state senate, or I would probably be the president or whatever. You know, these guys all have these pretty high level delusions of grandeur that involve them leading large groups of people. So in that scenario, their fantasy is I'm a senator, I'm a statesman, I'm a president or whatever, and they dress accordingly. So like for me, I'm wearing a NFL hooded sweatshirt right now because in my fantasy life, I'm still like, I don't know, a fullback for the Chicago Bears circa 1997. And or maybe that's how I dress,
maybe transition to coaching after your playing career, but still in the in the field.
I get a few years in as a fullback, and then I transition to like special teams coach or whatever, and that's how I dress, right? Because in my fantasy life, that's what I'm doing, and I just think these guys, they all fantasize about like they all watch that like deep dive CNN channel where it's just the guys on like the Senate floor just arguing. They watch a lot of that. They're reading their Churchill biographies. That's just who these guys are. Does that make sense, baby?
Yeah, it totally makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know.
I like it. I think it holds. I think it's solid.
I think it holds too, dude. I think it holds. What else do we have on the list here, boys? Even, and I got to hop in like 12 minutes because I have to teach a class. So here's an interesting one, and this will be interesting because we all have kids at like different stages. How do you guys think your kids will describe this thing when they're old? Like this pandemic, quarantine. How do you think our kids are going to describe it? Piper, you're sick of your kids, as evidenced by 2 days ago.
As evidenced by sending a text. It's like, please, can we not record today? It will not be a happy rant.
Exactly.
I think unless this thing drags on through the summer and people start losing, like the economy tanks and half the country loses their jobs and whatever, like I think they're going to describe it as boring.
Yeah,
I think probably. My kids' recall of this is going to be like, hey, you remember that when they canceled a semester of school and we basically got stuck at home and we could like ride bikes and do Google Classroom? That sucked. And so historically, there's not been a pandemic like this since like the Spanish flu, but I don't think they will have any concept of that. And I don't think there's any way to explain it to them either.
Yeah.
That's my sense of things.
No, that reminds me of the person that I'm the most sick of in this is conservatives and liberals. Because liberals are like, forget about the economy. Let's quarantine for 3 years. And conservatives are like, let's get back to work 3 weeks ago. And I don't know. I'm just tired of all of it. But I don't know. I think my kids will look back on this as like the time where they were forced to do all the idyllic like kid things that old men bloviate about, like going outside and making forts. And like they've eventually, it took a while, but they've eventually gotten to all that. Like I bought them new knives. So they've been out like whittling and like cutting stuff with their knives. And yeah, dude, it's been fun actually. I bought myself one of those survival knives from the 80s. Remember those after the Rambo movies came out?
Yeah, it's going back to your Indiana roots.
Did it have like does it have like the compass on the hilt and stuff like that?
Yeah, it has the compass on the hilt. It's got like a little bundle of matches and like fishing line inside of it. They're sick, dude. They're super fun. So yeah, dude, we built a fire pit. We like bought survival knives. We're doing spring football. I think the boys will look back on this as like the time that they voluntarily stepped away from video games for a little while. And I don't know. I hope it's good. I hope it's a good memory, but who knows, man?
At the risk of being one of those people we made fun of last episode or 2 episodes ago, the sort of idealistic people, my hope is that they look back and say, that was when I sort of discovered how much I really liked my friends. And, where human interaction and relationships have real value, and it's not just the occasional texting. And so I hope that's the case. Now, my suspicion is that 6 months after we're done with quarantine, it will look exactly like it did 6 months before quarantine. And, there will still be faces glued to screens and TikTok everywhere. But, that would be a wonderful change if it occurred.
No, amen, man. I feel that completely. Ronald, you have a grown kid. How do you think she'll look back on this?
Yeah, man, she's actually enjoying herself because she gets to work from home, and she's just like kind of digging the whole process. I kind of think of it. The only thing I remember, which obviously wasn't anything like this or serious like this, but it was back. I was really young, but it was like when we had all the gas crisis of like the early 80s, late, and you had to wait in line for like 4 hours to get like, a half a tank of gas. And, but it's like, so like my memory of that is like, it's so faint. Yeah. And I think for most kids, I think they skip over all the seriousness, things that we're talking about related to this. And I think for most kids, if you talk to them 15, 20 years, they're going to be like, oh yeah, it was that thing. We were just home. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be something that's going to have a dramatic effect on them unless it really affected their family life because their parents were out of work, or maybe they had a parent that got sick, and it'll kind of stick out to them in regards to that. But it just seems like most kids, they're just, they don't have the minds to process it more deeply on any other level than, oh yeah, we did that thing where we were like home all the time and watched Netflix. I don't know. But I don't know.
It's interesting to think about how stuff gets romanticized through a past tense kind of lens. And, it as is typical of the human heart, we end up leveraging all these things in some way. And we remember it
I remember that whole crisis through the lens of my parents.
Sure.
Because it was they were constantly talking about it and having to scheme around it and figure things out, because we lived kind of out there. We had to drive really far to get everywhere. So gas was like a big deal for us. So I just remember sort of the stress that they were going through. And I think kids sort of, they kind of identify maybe with that, even because they don't know what to think about it. They don't have all the information, and at least
we're being glib about it. But if higher ed tanks and I lose my job next year, then the memories will be different, because the moment will be like infused with a whole lot more despair than it is currently.
And I wonder what it's like for the kids who live in, New York City or places that are much more locked down than any of the places we live, and where there's, if the apartment next door has a nurse in it and she's, she has to keep her distance from them because she's around infected people. Like, there's the reality of that situation is very, very different. And I have no idea what that, like, my kid's life is basically what you described, Ted. It's like we do fake school in the morning, and then they go like ride bikes and play at the creek in the afternoon and draw pictures and like do kid stuff. And it's not idyllic in one sense, but it kind of is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, it's just different. And like you, Pipe, I hope in 6 months it doesn't just snap back to, banal TikTok and all that stuff. But also like you, I'm pretty cynical and I have my doubts as to how idyllic it will stay. But you know what is idyllic right now, boys, is the fact that we have 2 sponsors on this program. In the midst of all this turmoil and strife in the world, we are still a strong business. So now's the time to buy Happy Rant stock.
Despite me tanking our financial chances earlier.
Despite Piper, I was trying to gloss over that. Maybe
it's a rebuilding year for us, Piper.
It's a rebuilding year now. Yeah, exactly. So, Piper, tell us about our business partners.
Yeah, so like Ted said, we've got 2 sponsors. The first is the Gospel Project, which is a Bible study and curriculum line from Lifeway. If you go to gospelproject.com, you can learn more about all the resources for churches. They have short-term ones for small group studies. They have long-term ones where you can study through the entire Bible over the course of a few years. looking at kind of a biblical theology redemptive arc for it. They have it for kids, students, adults. It's really great. But their specific offer for Happy Rant listeners is a free ebook called The Church is a Family. It's by Aaron Armstrong and Chris Surratt. And if you go to gospelproject.com/happyrant, you can just download it there. They have put out a bunch of these smaller print and ebooks, like teaching resources, church life resources, and they're all just very strong, biblically, theologically oriented, quick reads. Trevin Wax has written some, Aaron's written some, a guy named Brian Dembowczyk, I can't pronounce his last name because it's one of those names that's all consonants. Has written some, but this one, Church is a Family, is free. Gospelproject.com/happyrant. Check that out. And then check out their curriculum for your church if you're looking for that. It's really good stuff. And then our other sponsor is the Dwell Audio Bible app. We've talked about them at length, but their special offer right now is offering Dwell to churches for 60 days for free, specifically during this weird time when churches are very locked down and can't be meeting together. So if you are on staff at a church, or if you want to share this information with one of the staff members at your church, if you shoot them an email at the very uplifting address of COVID-19 at dwellapp.io, so COVID-19 at dwellapp.io, they will get you information on setting your entire church up. So however many people are in your church who want access to this for free for 60 days. Now, hopefully after 60 days, we are out of quarantine. We're meeting together, but it's still a great thing to have just in terms of having access to listening to scripture, making it a regular part of your life during this odd off rhythm time. So again, email them at COVID-19 at dwellapp.io and get that information.
Boys, could we get a COVID-19 at happyrant.com email address going?
Gosh, I would love that.
God, it'd be so fun, baby.
What would we ask people to send to it? Digital Easter baskets?
Fawning. Yeah,
we're rebuilding our.
It's the rebuild. Yeah, after all that damage Piper did earlier, we gotta rebuild the coffers.
So sorry.
Reserves. Our cash reserves are low.
Right? That's right, man. That's right. We got to put on our blue blazers and go out there and be leaders of men. Rebuild these cash reserves. But boys, we've done what we always do on this program, which is wander to and fro throughout a variety of topics. And until next time.
The Happy Rant is brought to you by Resonate Recordings. If you go to resonaterecordings.com, you can see the full range of services they offer. So if you're considering starting a podcast, they are the ones we recommend going with. Again, go to resonaterecordings.com to see their prices, to connect with them and ask any questions, and to see what they can do to help you launch, edit, master, and improve your podcast. Again, go to resonaterecordings.com to see what they can do to help you launch and improve your podcast.